The Arado 234 Blitz was the world's first operational turbojet-powered bomber, seeing service during the final years of World War II. Due to a lack of internal space in the relatively slender fuselage, bomb loads of up to 1,500 kilograms had to be carried on external racks rather than in the internal bomb bay. In its capacity as a bomber, the most famous use of the Arado 234 was the repeated attempts to destroy the Ludendorff Bridge at Remagen in March of 1945. However, it is a little known fact that from late 1944, the aircraft was also used for aerial reconnaissance missions over enemy territory. In July of 1944, a special unit, Kommando Götz, was created under the leadership of Hauptmann Captain Horst Götz and Oberleutnant First Lieutenant Erich Sommer. Horst Götz and Erich Sommer have practically fought the entire war together, and they were the best and most experienced reconnaissance pilots of the entire German Air Force, who performed several dangerous missions. For example, at the beginning of August of 1942, they performed high-altitude bombing raids over England with a specially modified Junkers Ju-86 high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft armed with only one 250 kilograms bomb. After several missions without opposition, they were preparing for a bombing raid over Cardiff on the 12th of September 1942. However, much to their surprise, they were intercepted at 44,000 feet by a Spitfire 9. The pursuit lasted for 45 minutes. At the end, Götz and Sommer managed to escape and successfully brought their airplane back to France. This incident was the only air battle at this high altitude during the entire war. At the beginning of 1944, the two pilots became part of the Arado 234 test program. Kommando Götz was performed with two Arado 234 jets and with approximately 30 men in the summer of 1944. This unit was the first aerial reconnaissance unit in military history which was equipped with jet aircraft. The world's first jet reconnaissance sortie was flown on the 2nd of August 1944 by Erich Sommer. On the 2nd of August, the weather over the Normandy beachhead was good, and the order was given to carry out the first reconnaissance mission. The weather over the intended target had to be perfect because the quality of the photographs depended on it. Traveling at 900 kilometers per hour, it did not take long for Sommer to reach Normandy from his airbase in northern France. Before reaching his objective, Sommer prepared his camera, an RB50/30. The Reichenbildner or RB50/30 was one of the main aerial reconnaissance cameras used by the Luftwaffe during World War II. It was used for medium and high altitude panoramic or strip photography. At approximately 4:30 p.m., Sommer started to take photographs from a height of 11,000 meters. Above the Cherbourg Peninsula, he changed course and dipped slightly to reach a speed of around 750 kilometers per hour, before leveling out and maintaining course and altitude, and deploying the photographic equipment. The first run covered the coastal strip where the Allied disembarked nearly 2 months earlier. Sommer turned due west again, this time to cover a 10-kilometer strip further inland, then finally a third pass along the same course. The pictures, likely to be transmitted to the German High Command, showed the floating pontoons and more than 300 ships. The German pilot meticulously photographed everything over 3 passes. The airdrome where the famous Typhoon tank-killer airplanes were based, troop transports, ships, and even a few apple trees that had withstood the assault back in June. It was time for him to return to the base. Due to the pressure that flying at such high altitude placed upon the aircraft, Sommer made a long turn so as not to weaken its structure and headed east towards his base. Everything went by without any difficulty. This mission would be repeated several times between the 2nd and the 12th of August 1944, each time by Erich Sommer and later by Horst Götz. During the Arado's first operational Reconnaissance Sortie, the Luftwaffe had collected more information than in the previous 2 months. After August of 1944, with several completed reconnaissance missions over Normandy under their belt, the 2 airplanes of Commando Götz moved to the Netherlands and afterwards back to Germany. On the 9th of September 1944, Erich Sommer received the order to carry out a reconnaissance mission over the Thames estuary the following day. The temptation was too strong for Sommer, who could not resist flying over London to look at the damage caused by the famous V2 rockets. This action was strictly prohibited, as the Arado wasn't allowed to fly over any terrain where it couldn't land safely, and as a result, the pilot found himself appearing before a court-martial. Added to this was the fact that the photographs showed that the V2 rockets had not reached their targets anyway. However, following the direct intervention of his superior, Horst Götz and Hermann Göring, the procedure was finally annulled. In the last phase of the war, Commando Götz performed several reconnaissance missions over England, the last one on the 11th of April 1945, only a few weeks before the end of the conflict. It is interesting to note that all the photographs taken over Normandy and England by Sommer and Götz were archived in the main photo center of the Luftwaffe at the Berlin Tempelhof airport, just like all the other Luftwaffe negatives. They could have been seized by the Red Army in the spring of 1945 after the Battle of Berlin, and they could be subsequently made use of in the Soviet Union. So the Luftwaffe High Command evacuated its photographs from Berlin to Bavaria in the last months of the war. The majority of the material originated between 1940 and 1944, but some photos were taken as early as 1938, and they covered a lot of strategically important installations in the Soviet Union. These photos were priceless for the Allied intelligence. So, as odd as it sounds, there was an Allied military operation which aimed the recovery and exploitation of German reconnaissance photography and cartographic material. Operation Dick Tracy took place towards the end of the war when Allied units successfully seized large quantities of cartographic materials and aerial photographs. Later, when the Soviet authorities demanded the negatives, they were told that they had been destroyed in Berlin by fire. A total of Dick Tracy material includes well over 1.4 million items, and they were divided into 8 main categories. The US intelligence agencies used these photos to help in gathering data on the Soviet Union, and even CIA used it to produce the first detailed map of Moscow. All the data took nearly 20 years to review and were not declassified until 1978. Currently, copies are publicly available at the National Archives and Records Administration and the Library of Congress. I hope you have enjoyed the content and want to support the channel. Check out the PayPal donation link in the description or consider becoming a member. To make sure you don't miss my future work, subscribe to my channel and press the bell notification button. Thank you and see you in the next video.